Season 13 of Love and Hip Hop began in typical chaotic fashion, but nothing could have prepared fans for the moment that would change the trajectory of the season. What started as an ordinary filming day quickly turned into an emotional storm that rocked the cast to its core. Mena, a staple of the show known for her fiery personality, suddenly pulled Yandi Smith aside in a moment that nobody had seen coming. It was a sunny, breezy afternoon in Atlanta, and the cast was gathered for a rooftop shoot that was meant to be lighthearted and fun. The crew, the cast, the fans, they were all expecting the usual reality TV drama, the petty arguments, and the scripted moments that would keep everyone entertained. But what actually unfolded was something far more intense, something that no one could have predicted. Erica's decision to approach Yandi and confront her about something that had been simmering for years would set off an emotional roller coaster that neither of them was prepared for. From the very beginning, the atmosphere on set was different. Erica had been acting strange for days, her energy low, her demeanor distant. The cast had grown used to Erica's larger-than-life presence, but this was something else. She seemed quieter than usual, more introspective. Some cast members noticed it, others didn't, chalking it up to the pressures of filming. But those who had worked with Erica for years knew that something big was brewing. What was she planning to do? Why had she suddenly become so reserved? It felt like she was preparing for a confrontation, but who would it be with? And why now? Yandi, on the other hand, was blissfully unaware of the storm that was about to hit. She was carrying on, as usual, interacting with castmates, laughing, and chatting. To her, everything was just another day on set. It wasn't until Erica's request to speak privately that the tone of the day shifted. Yandi followed Erica without hesitation, not suspecting anything out of the ordinary. They walked a short distance from the rest of the group, and for a moment, everything appeared calm. But then Erica's voice cut through the silence like a knife. "You know, there's a lot I've let slide," she said, her tone calm but deliberate. "But seeing you walk around like nothing ever happened, like you've got this perfect marriage, like everything's fine, it's too much. I can't just sit back and act like everything's okay anymore." Yandi froze, caught off guard. What was this about? They had always had their disagreements, sure, but this felt different. Erica wasn't just airing grievances from the past. She was accusing Yandi of something much deeper. For a moment, Yandi tried to maintain her composure, but it was clear that she was starting to unravel. "What are you talking about?" she asked, her voice strained but still trying to remain calm. And then Erica dropped the bombshell. She didn't tiptoe around it. She didn't soften the blow. "It's about Mendeecees," Erica said, her voice cold and cutting. "You know, the things you like to ignore. The things you pretend didn't happen." At the mention of Mendeecees, something in Yandi snapped. Her body language shifted immediately. Her shoulders tensed, her eyes narrowed, her smile faltered, replaced by something that seemed like a mixture of surprise, anger, and confusion. "What about him?" Yandi responded, her voice low, each word dripping with suspicion. She had known that there were unresolved issues, but this felt like something far more serious than a casual disagreement. Erica wasted no time. She was about to open up a floodgate that had been sealed for far too long. "You don't want to admit it, but you know what's been going on?" Erica shot back, her eyes locking onto Yandi's. "I've been quiet for years, but I can't do it anymore. You've had your perfect little life. But I'm not going to pretend anymore that things didn't happen between Mendeecees and me. I have the proof, texts, messages, witnesses. I've kept quiet, but not anymore. And you act like you don't know anything about it." The words hit Yandi like a slap. Her expression faltered, her eyes widened, and for a moment, she was speechless. Erica wasn't just talking about a fleeting moment, a one-night incident. She was accusing Yandi of knowing about the deeper, more private exchanges between her and Mendeecees, things that had never aired on camera, things that no one but a few people knew about. Erica had been sitting on this for years, watching Yandi pretend like she was the only one who mattered to Mendeecees, and now she wasn't going to hold back. Yandi, still reeling from the shock, quickly gathered herself. She wasn't going to let Erica control the narrative. "I don't care about the past," Yandi responded, her voice steady but with a sharp edge. "If you had something to say, you should have said it then, not now, not in front of everyone. You had your chance, Erica, but you waited until it was too late." But Erica wasn't going to back down. Her voice got louder, more intense. "I stayed quiet because I thought it would eventually blow over, but now, I see you walking around like your life is untouchable, like nothing ever happened. I can't just sit here and watch you act like you've got it all figured out. You weren't the only one in his life, Yandi, and I won't let you keep pretending that you were. The room around them seemed to pause. Everyone watching, whether they were aware of what was happening or not, could feel the tension in the air. Cast members had started to stop what they were doing and turned their attention to Erica and Yandi. What had started as an innocent conversation had escalated into something so much bigger. It was clear that this wasn't just drama for the cameras. This was personal. This was real. Yandi, now visibly shaken, tried to control her emotions. You've been holding on to this for how long, Erica? Why didn't you speak up sooner? Why now, in front of everyone? She asked, her voice rising in frustration. But Erica didn't flinch. She had waited too long for this moment to let it go. I didn't speak up because I thought it would disappear. But now, I can't let you walk around acting like you didn't. No, what was going on? I can't let you act like you were the only one who mattered to Mendeecees. You weren't. And I'm done pretending it didn't happen. Their voices had grown louder, and the crew, sensing the potential for things to escalate further, hovered on the edge. They knew the show thrived on drama, but no one expected this level of raw emotion to surface so quickly. At that moment, Rosita, another cast member, turned to face the two women. She could feel the building tension, and it was clear that the producers were trying to stay out of it, but it was becoming harder to ignore. Erica and Yandi weren't just acting out their scripted roles anymore. They were in the midst of something far deeper, and the entire cast could feel it. Maybe if you had spoken up before, we wouldn't be here now, Yandi said, almost too softly, her voice shaking with a mix of hurt and anger. But you didn't, and now you're dragging everything up for everyone to see. This isn't just for the cameras, Erica, this is real. Erica, her eyes flashing with intensity, stepped closer. Maybe it wasn't just for the cameras, but now it's time for everyone to see the truth. I'm not backing down anymore. This isn't just your marriage. This is about everything you've kept hidden. The fight continued, each woman pushing the other to the edge. It was clear that their previous animosities had been buried for too long, and now they had spilled over in the worst possible way. Mendeecees wasn't there, but his presence loomed large over the entire situation. It was clear that this confrontation wasn't just about their past, it was about control, power, and who could hold on to what was left of their dignity. The producers watched from the sidelines, unsure of how to intervene. The energy on set was now completely different. No one could predict what would happen next. As Erica and Yandi's confrontation began to die down, the damage had already been done. The room was divided. The cast now split into two factions. The previous unity among the group was now shattered. The tension in the air after Erica and Yandi's confrontation wasn't something easily ignored. What had started as a simple exchange between two women with a complicated past had now escalated into something that would shake the foundation of the entire cast. The energy in the room was noticeably different. No longer was the group of cast members the united front they once were. Each member had been forced to take sides, and even the producers could sense that they had entered uncharted waters. Yandi, after the confrontation, retreated into herself. It was clear that she had been blindsided by the accusations Erica had leveled against her. Yandi had always thought of herself as someone who understood the ins and outs of the show's drama, but this was different. This wasn't about camera angles, scripted moments, or rehearsed arguments. It was personal. It was about her relationship with Mendeecees, something that had been carefully concealed from the public eye. What Erica had brought into the light was something far darker than Yandi had expected. As Yandi distanced herself from the group, Erica remained oddly calm. To some, it seemed like she was processing her own emotions in private, but to others, it felt like she was putting on a mask. Erica knew that staying strong in front of the cameras was important, especially when so much had been laid bare in front of the cast. It was clear that she was trying to control the narrative, to ensure that people understood her frustration, but the more Erica held her composure, the more the others began to question her true motivations. While Erica continued to engage with the rest of the cast, her interactions were often laced with subtle barbs comments that only fueled the fire of tension. She would glance at Yandi from time to time, her gaze sharp and full of unspoken words, but Yandi never reciprocated. Her eyes remained cold, distant, as if she were trying to block out the chaos that had entered her life. Every interaction between Erica and Yandi after that moment felt charged, filled with an undercurrent of unresolved conflict. The next few days on set were some of the most awkward that anyone had experienced. The crew, normally accustomed to the usual reality TV drama, found themselves walking on eggshells. It was clear that the situation was no longer just about drama for the cameras. It had taken on a life of its own. Fans, who were usually quick to jump on the latest drama, began to speculate that something deeper was going on. The social media commentary exploded as people tried to piece together the fractured history between Erica and Yandi. Each tweet, each Instagram post, each TikTok video added fuel to the fire. Despite the chaos, the producers saw an opportunity. They knew that the drama between Erica and Yandi was now the focal point of the season. They could feel the shift in the atmosphere, and they were determined to capitalize on it. As they began to revise the upcoming episodes, producers ensured that the tensions between the two women would be front and center. They knew that this was the most real and raw moment they had ever captured on the show, and they weren't about to let it go to waste. But the real test was what would happen when Mendeecees finally arrived on set. For days, he had remained distant, avoiding the inevitable fallout from the confrontation. He had heard about what had happened, but he hadn't made any public statements. The producers were still trying to decide if they should incorporate his perspective into the ongoing narrative. Mendeecees, after all, was a key figure in the entire conflict. His relationships with both Yandi and Erica were central to the story, and his absence was starting to feel like a glaring hole in the drama. When Mendeecees finally made his appearance on set, it was clear that he was in a difficult position. He had always been a part of the show's drama, but this time felt different. His arrival was met with a sense of anticipation. Would he side with Yandi, the woman he had been with for years, or would he support Erica, the woman who had been vocal about her grievances? Mendeecees walked in quietly, his face unreadable. He greeted the cast with his usual nonchalance, but his eyes betrayed a sense of conflict. According to insiders, Mendeecees was fully aware of the chaos surrounding him, but he wasn't ready to dive into the fray just yet. Instead, he opted to stay on the sidelines, observing the drama unfold from a distance. It was clear that he was conflicted about where his loyalties truly lay. While Erica and Yandi continued to clash on camera, Mendeecees began to make subtle moves behind the scenes. He had conversations with producers, offering his perspective on the situation without revealing too much. He was careful not to take sides openly, knowing that his words could easily be twisted into more drama. However, as the days passed, it became increasingly difficult for him to remain neutral. The pressure was mounting from all sides, and Mendeecees was beginning to feel the weight of the situation at one point. During a break in filming, Mendeecees was spotted speaking with a producer. His words were calm, but there was an underlying tension in his voice. "I didn't want to be part of this mess," he reportedly said. "But now it's out there. It's all out there. I can't pretend it's not happening." Despite his attempts to remain aloof, Mendeecees was being pulled deeper into the drama. Fans began to wonder if this was the moment he would finally pick a side, or if, as many suspected, he would continue to play both sides, trying to keep both women in his life without fully committing to either one. Meanwhile, the cast continued to grapple with the fallout of the confrontation. Spice, Bambi, and Rashida were among those who began to take sides, albeit quietly. They were aware of the situation's sensitivity, but they also recognized that they had to address it. Spice, who had often played the role of mediator on set, made it clear that she wasn't going to let this conflict divide the entire cast. "We need to keep things real," she said in one private conversation. "But we also need to remember that this is a show. There's a fine line between reality and spectacle. If we don't start talking things through, this will tear us all apart." The growing tension was starting to affect the rest of the group. Some cast members began to question whether the producers were exploiting the conflict for ratings, while others felt that the situation had gone beyond what they had signed up for. For the first time in Love and Hip Hop history, the drama wasn't confined to scripted storylines, it was spilling into the personal lives of the people involved. The producers, sensing that they were on the verge of something historic, began to take more calculated risks. They knew that the emotional toll this drama was having on the cast was undeniable, but they also understood that they had captured something far more powerful than they had ever anticipated. The narrative was no longer about manufactured fights or shallow conflicts, it was about real emotions, real pain, and the very real consequences of the choices each person had made. As filming continued, tensions escalated. Yandi, still reeling from the confrontation, made a decision to take some time away from the set. She was no longer interested in playing into the drama for the cameras. For Yandi, this wasn't just about her image, it was about her heart. Erica had gone too far, and Yandi needed time to process what had happened. To figure out if there was any way to repair the damage that had been done, Erica, meanwhile, seemed more determined than ever to keep her place in the spotlight. She continued to move through the days with her head held high, engaging with the cast as if nothing had happened. But behind the scenes, the cracks in her facade were beginning to show. The weight of the situation was starting to take a toll on her, and as much as she tried to maintain her confidence, the reality of what she had unleashed was beginning to sink in. As the days passed, the drama continued to unfold in unexpected ways. Mendeecees' silence spoke volumes, and the speculation around his involvement only fueled the fire. Would he side with Erica? Would he stand by Yandi? And what about the rest of the cast? Would they continue to divide along party lines? Or would they come together to find a resolution? As the tension between Erica and Yandi deepened, so too did the divide within the cast. The aftershocks of their confrontation reverberated beyond just the two women. For the first time, Love and Hip Hop wasn't just about manufactured drama or scripted fights, it was about real, raw emotions that had nowhere to hide. This was no longer a story of reality TV antics. It was the unraveling of relationships, trust, and public perceptions. The weeks following Erica's explosive confrontation with Yandi were anything but ordinary. While Erica seemed to remain composed, as if nothing had happened, the emotional toll was becoming more visible behind the scenes. The pressure of being under constant scrutiny, not just from the cameras but also from fans and castmates, was weighing on her. There was an unspoken understanding among the crew that Erica was fighting a battle on multiple fronts. She wasn't just fighting with Yandi, she was fighting with her own reputation, her own actions, and the consequences that were now inevitable. Yandi, on the other hand, was struggling in silence. She had always been known for her strength, but this confrontation, this public airing of her personal life, had shattered the armor she had so carefully constructed over the years. She had always maintained control over her narrative, but now, with Erica's accusations out in the open, she was left scrambling to reclaim it. Her mind raced as she replayed every conversation, every moment, wondering where things had gone wrong and why Erica had chosen this time to confront her so brutally. The pain Yandi felt wasn't just about the accusations Erica had thrown her. It was about the betrayal she felt from both Erica and Mendeecees. How could Erica, someone she had considered a peer and a friend, air their dirty laundry like that? And how could Mendeecees, the man she had loved and built a life with, remain so silent and distant in the face of it all? Yandi was left to pick up the pieces of a life that seemed to be falling apart in front of millions of viewers, while Erica spent her days trying to regain her footing in the show's social sphere. The emotional weight of the situation was taking its toll on her as well. Fans had always looked up to her as a powerful figure, someone who could turn every confrontation into a moment of victory. But now, for the first time, Erica felt the sting of vulnerability. She had revealed something so personal, something so raw, and she wasn't sure how to handle the aftermath. The social media firestorm that followed was both a testament to her influence and a reminder of the heavy cost that came with it. Fans, who had once been eager to cheer her on, were now questioning her every move. #Team Yandi trended fiercely, with fans expressing their support for the woman they felt had been wronged. In contrast, Erica found herself increasingly isolated in the public eye. The drama she had stirred up in the name of truth had now turned against her, and the weight of the backlash began to gnaw at her. People who had once called her a boss now began to refer to her as a villain, a label she never thought she'd bear. While the public was focused on the growing divide between the women, the tension between Erica, Yandi, and Mendeecees continued to fester. Mendeecees, who had kept his distance from the ongoing conflict, was finally forced to speak out. His sudden emergence into the drama didn't provide the clarity everyone had hoped for. Instead, his statement seemed to complicate things further. When Mendeecees finally addressed the situation on camera, it was clear that he wasn't fully prepared for the weight of his words. "I didn't want to get involved in all of this," he confessed, his voice tight with discomfort. "But now, it's become too big to ignore. Erica and I had a history. We had some moments. I'll admit it, but Yandi is the woman I love, and I've always tried to keep my relationships private. But I didn't do that this time." His words were a revelation, but they also felt incomplete. Mendeecees was trying to downplay the gravity of the situation, brushing off his emotional involvement in Erica's life. Yet, it was clear to everyone watching that his attempts to minimize his actions were failing. His acknowledgement of his emotional connections with Erica wasn't just an admission, it was a confirmation of everything Erica had been accusing him of. But the question remained, was this emotional betrayal enough to break his relationship with Yandi? Yandi, still reeling from the emotional fallout of the public confrontation, didn't immediately respond to Mendeecees' words. Her silence spoke volumes. She wasn't ready to address the pain he had caused her. Mendeecees' apology, if you could call it that, wasn't enough to fix the rift. For Yandi, this wasn't about the public's opinion, or the producer's need for drama, it was about her heart. And Mendeecees, despite his confessions, had already hurt her deeply. Meanwhile, Erica was taking steps to reclaim control of her story. She knew the narrative had shifted, but she refused to let it slip further away from her. As she continued filming, Erica remained calm, even when the cameras weren't rolling. She engaged with other cast members, though the conversations felt strained. There was a new distance between her and the group, where once she had been a leader, someone the cast rallied behind. Now she found herself alone, her former allies unsure of where to stand. In private moments, Erica confided in a few trusted friends, expressing her frustration and her hurt. "I'm tired of being the villain," she told one confidant. "I did what I had to do. I couldn't sit there and let everything be swept under the rug anymore. But now, it's like I'm the bad guy for telling the truth." Despite Erica's personal struggles, her resolve to stay in the spotlight remained unshaken. She made the decision to take matters into her own hands, focusing on her brand, her projects, and her public persona. But inside, she was cracking. The once confident Erica Mena, who had always worn her strength like armor, was now faced with the raw reality of the consequences she had triggered. It was no longer just about the cameras or the drama, it was about her life, her relationships, and her reputation. As the filming continued, the cast could feel the shift. The group's cohesion was deteriorating, replaced by a tense, divided energy that no one seemed able to escape. The producers scrambled to keep things moving, but they too were aware that the dynamics on set had changed forever. The once united cast was now fragmented, with allegiances unclear and emotions running high. At one point, an impromptu meeting was called between the cast, but this time, there was no pretending. The group was forced to face the reality of what had transpired. Spice, often the voice of reason, was the first to speak up. "Look, we can't keep ignoring this. It's bigger than the show now. People's lives are on the line." "Erica, Yandi, we need to figure out what's next." Erica nodded, her face serious. "I know. I'm not proud of what I did, but I'm not sorry for standing up for myself anymore. Yandi knows what happened between us, and Mendeecees knows too. I can't keep pretending." Yandi, for the first time in weeks, spoke up. "I'm done pretending to, but I need time. I need to figure out where I stand, with Mendeecees, with Erica, and with myself. I'm not ready to reconcile yet, and I'm not going to force it." The room was quiet after Yandi's words. There was a heaviness in the air, a weight that none of them could escape. The future of the group seemed uncertain, and the trajectory of the show was no longer just about creating drama for the audience. It was about dealing with the consequences of their actions in real life. As the days wore on, the storylines shifted. The producers made the difficult decision to focus more on the emotional aftermath of the confrontation. The fans had already witnessed the fireworks now. They wanted to see the fallout. They wanted to know how Erica, Yandi, and Mendeecees would move forward, and whether any of them could truly heal from the damage that had been done. The final weeks of filming were some of the most intense in the show's history. The air was thick with unresolved tension, and the future of the cast remained uncertain. The drama had reached new heights, and no one knew what the next episode would bring. For Erica, Yandi, and Mendeecees, the question remained, could they ever truly repair the damage that had been done? Would their relationships survive the emotional wreckage? Or would the truth, once revealed, shatter everything beyond repair?